The global configuration is the last selection on this menu item. In our global configuration file, we have three main settings: site, system, and server. To take your site offline, just click Yes. Change the message. Click Apply just for fun. And you can go back over to your main site and you'll see that the site is now down with the message that you created. In the next session, we're going to show you how to take the Joomla logo out and put your own in. So when you take your site offline, your logo will be there instead of the standard Joomla one. Let's bring our site back online. Go back into our global configuration. Say no, the site is not offline. Click Apply. And of course, our site is immediately back up. Here you can also change the site name, the default WYSIWYG editor. On a default Joomla installation, it's TinyMCE. During the tutorials in this course, we're going to help you see that JCE is probably a better editor. We're going to help you install it and help you configure it so that you'll be able to use it. But for now, if you're using a brand new installation of Joomla, it's going to say TinyMCE. These are your global site meta description and meta keywords. These should reflect the keywords and key description for your site. The description shouldn't be more than a couple of sentences long, and the keywords should be no more than 20 or 30, being careful to not repeat keywords as you go. On the SEO settings, search engine friendly URLs, if we click Yes here, that's going to create URLs that look like this: index.php/forum. If you select Apache mod rewrite, they'll look like /forum. Be careful here and make sure that you rename the Apache file from htaccess.txt to .htaccess in the root of your Joomla setup. Otherwise this won't work and it will destroy your site. If you click in Yes to add suffix, to URLs, it'll look like forum.html, adding the .html to your code. So that's what these are. Again, being careful to make sure that you change the htaccess.txt file to .htaccess before activating. That will take your site offline. On the System tab, we have a number of things that, generally speaking, you won't need to change. But let's go through them. The path to our log folder is here, and this normally will be on your live server. English is your language. If you want to allow users to register on your site, you leave it as yes. If you don't want them to be able to register on your site, you just click that to no. If you want users to get an email that says, hey, click on this link and you'll be activated on our site, just leave that as yes. If you don't need to have that, just set it to no. I almost always turn this off because I really don't want my users at this point being able to choose their editor when they log in and view their profile, unless they're adding content to the site. Media settings, again, make sure you always look at these little warnings. These are the different kinds of media that can be uploaded. This is the 10 megabyte limit. This is the default path to your media folder and the default path to your images folder that would be accessible through articles. Let me encourage you, don't change this because many other components and plugins use images/stories as their default, and it can create some problems later on. Here you can set the minimum user level to upload images into the media directory. Some other things that, you know what, you just never need to worry about too much. I generally leave this to no. There's a problem with the Flash uploader in Joomla 1.5, depending on which browser you use, so the safest thing is just to leave it to no. When you're having problems with your Joomla site, you can turn these on to debug the system, and it'll give you some good information if you understand PHP and other things. Implementing a cache on a Joomla website is usually a good idea. It helps in the speed of the site, putting some of the assembled pages and files into memory, so that clients don't have to recall them completely from scratch. Again, a cache of 15 minutes is usually sufficient. Session settings, while you're setting up your site, I usually recommend that you change this to 60. Leave it in the database. What this does is it says, how long can I be logged in with no activity before I'm logged out? Having a session lifetime of 60 minutes while you're setting your site up is a great idea. It prevents you from being logged out over and over again while you're taking your time getting your site correct. So that's the System tab. The Server tab, again, a number of things here that you probably won't change. The server settings to your temp files, gzip compression, a little bit of debate on this one. Usually you'll leave it off Sometimes when you turn it on, it creates problems, especially in some things like polls and things like that. Error reporting, I usually just leave this at the system default. And unless your site needs to be completely encrypted using SSL, usually you can leave this to none. If you want your entire administrative interface behind a layer of protection, you can turn this to administrator only. Locale Settings is the locale of where you are, and it will help Joomla understand the difference between server time and where you are. FTP settings, unless you're having problems uploading content to your site, or you install an extension that needs to use FTP, I usually just leave this alone. Otherwise, change a TS, put your host name in, your username and password, and where FTP should be looking to send your files up at the root level. Again, this is stuff you won't change, unless of course you change your database. If you're moving your site later from a local host to a live server, you can come in here and change these. I recommend you don't. I recommend that you edit that global configuration rights to. If you're going to send mail from your website, if you use the PHP mail function, you need to have a mail from and a from name and a send mail path, and PHP will attempt to send your mail. If you're using your Joomla site as a newsletter and you're going to be sending out a lot of emails, highly recommend that you set up the rest of this. SMTP authentication, security if you need it, the username and password and host of a real mailbox hosted by your website that you can send mail out from. Highly recommended. All right, that's the global configuration: site, system, and server.